Every golf swing has a pattern. Now, when we watch the best players in the world, we will see the majority of them have what we class as a steep to shallow pattern. However, when we look at most amateurs, we see they have the opposite. They have a shallow to steep pattern. Now, that does not mean you cannot play consistent and good golf in a shallow to steep pattern. There are plenty of examples out on tour. Matthew Fitzpatrick is a great example of this, very successful with it. However, it is a lot easier for the majority of golfers to follow a steep to shallow pattern. Why? Because the club is going to be working the way it's designed to work. Now, what does a steep to shallow pattern look like and how do we achieve it? Well, a steep to shallow pattern looks like when the shaft at left arm parallel is pointing at or just inside the ball line, and in the downswing again at left arm parallel we will find the shaft is on a flatter angle than it was in the backswing. So if it was pointing at the ball line in the backswing, it's going to be pointing outside the ball line in the downswing. Now, why is this favorable? Well, when we work this club in a steep to shallow pattern, we're now working the club the way it wants to work, and we're not going to have to make any sort of compensations through the hitting area. We can turn, we can use our legs correctly, really push off through the ground, and then get a really nice consistent strike. Now, why is a shallow to steep pattern harder? Well, what we find with a shallow to steep pattern is as the club gets wrapped inside, we find it wants to ricochet over the top. Now what we have is a shaft that is steepening. Now, in every successful golf swing, we need to shallow the shaft at some point. So when the shaft is steepening, we'll then have to make some sort of compensation move where maybe we back up with the chest, we early extend to drop the club under, and then we can start to hit the ball correctly. However, when we are doing these compensation moves, they are very hard to time, and this is where the consistency element comes in. Now, if you've got great hand-eye coordination and you can coordinate this up really well, you can be successful, aka a Matthew Fitzpatrick, but for the majority of golfers, they're going to find this very, very difficult. Now, when we're talking about steepening and shallowing, we're talking about what is classed as the center of mass. So you can see right here, the center of mass is roughly where I'm balancing the club on my finger. You could do this with your club to find where the center of mass is. Now, when we are thinking of steepening and shallowing, it's really important we think of this center of mass. So in the backswing, if we have a shallow to steep pattern, what we're going to find is as we take this club back, you can see the center of mass, if I draw a line straight down, it's quite a ways behind my hand right here. Now, a little bit of physics for you. Whatever we do in the backswing, we're going to do the opposite in the downswing. So every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So with that being said, if the center of mass is behind our hands in the backswing, what's going to happen is in the downswing, it's going to do the opposite and try and realign and get over the top of our hands in the downswing. This is this sort of shallow to steep mechanism that we see a lot of golfers do, and then they have to do some sort of compensatory reactionary move in the downswing. So rather than trying to feel that club get behind me, let's try and feel that center of mass right there get above my hands in the backswing. It's actually really nice in this position. You can see it's a very light position. I can hold it with my left arm. As soon as the center of mass gets behind, I'm having to use my forearm strength to keep that club up in a good spot. So we're trying to feel that center of mass go above our hands in the backswing, and then we're going to let it shallow out in the downswing. So that's just a little bit of science behind what we're trying to see. Whenever we get that steep to shallow pattern, we'll find we can use our body a lot more. This is going to give you a lot more consistency, a lot more club head speed, and overall better performance. So now we know what we're trying to achieve. We know why we don't necessarily want to be in a shallow to steep pattern, although you can still play good golf from there, although it is a little bit harder. Let's give you some drills to go through that are going to help you develop this good steep to shallow pattern. First drill I'm going to run through is arguably a drill that you've seen all over the internet. It's a very popular drill, but it is an awesome drill because it gives you a lot of visual feedback straight away. So all you need is an alignment stick and a golf club. Place the alignment stick down the left side or the lead side of the golf club, and then take your grip. Now, don't hit too many balls doing this because I tend to find with the alignment stick down there, it does tend to make the grip feel very, very awkward and it can sometimes compromise the grip. So just be careful with that. This is more just there to feel and have a visual reference guide as to what's going on. So if you're somebody who struggles with a shallow to steep pattern, we will see you take it back here and the alignment stick is going to point quite a ways outside of the golf ball. Then as you come down, we're going to see you steepen it, and now the alignment stick points inside of the golf ball. So this is a shallow to steep pattern. Again, this is what I see with the majority of amateurs, and as a result, it really harms their swing because then they have to do some sort of early extension move, secondary tilt, whole load of different compensations in order just to hit the ball. So if we're trying to develop a good steep to shallow pattern, what we want to be seeing is as we take this club back, we want to see this alignment stick either point at the ball line or just inside into this sort of pattern here. So you can see this alignment stick is giving me a great visual reference guide. So I can do a couple of rehearsals. getting it in a nice position on the way back, feeling it point maybe just a little bit inside the ball line just to exaggerate the feeling. And then from there, as I then continue to the top, I can then let the clubs naturally fall behind me, and now you can see it's pointing outside of the ball line. So that is how we are going to create a blueprint of this steep to shallow pattern. So let me just summarize with this drill. We can go up to the top, pointed just inside the ball line. Then we're going to go to the downswing, pointed just outside the ball line, and turn through. Now you can hit shots doing this drill. Again, like I said, it is quite awkward, so don't focus on it too much. But let me just give you a variation where you don't need the alignment stick. You can use something else, but it's going to give you sort of the same feeling as this alignment stick drill. So the second variation of this drill that is going to allow you to hit balls without too much sort of stuff in the way with the alignment stick is actually just placing a tee in the end of your golf club. Now I know this is like, oh, well, it's just a tee in the end of the golf club, but try and use a little bit of imagination. Imagine this is like a laser pen. It's like a laser pointer. So what you're going to try and do is as you swing back, you're trying to get that laser pointer to point halfway in between your feet or the ball, or you can imagine it's more towards your toe line if you need to exaggerate it even more. But imagine this is a laser. It's going to point inside the ball, and then on the way down it's going to point outside the ball. So inside, outside, inside, outside. Now I always feel like whenever I put a tee in there, it really just makes my mind switch on a little bit more. For some reason, I guess it's the imagination side of my brain kicking in, going, imagine it's sort of a laser pointer. So we're going to go inside and outside. Now, as you do this, you're going to feel like, oh, that club has some real swing to it, real momentum to it. And you might find that your speed increases as well. So again, really awesome drill. It's a slight variation when it comes to the alignment stick drill. Start with the alignment stick drill to get that real blueprint of what it feels like, then switch to the tee drill where you can hit some full shots and again, sort of use your imagination just a little bit. So the third drill is a drill that I would actually recommend you doing out on the golf course, because obviously when you're out on the golf course, you can't use any training aids, you can't put a tee in the grip, you can't use an alignment stick, you can't use that stuff out on the course. So how can we do this on the golf course where we can create a great feeling before we hit a shot, so in our pre-shot routine? Well, really easy is we can use our left hand, and our left hand is already going to govern this motion quite a bit. So remember when I said when we get shallow in the backswing, so too flat in the backswing, it's really heavy, right? Well, if we're doing some left arm only swings, we've got to really focus on getting that club light in the backswing and then let it fall behind us in the downswing. That's going to create that steep to shallow pattern. So if I do some swings where I go, right, get that club nice and light in the backswing, that's that steep pattern, and then let it fall in the downswing, you're going to start to feel what it feels like to go steep to shallow, steep to shallow. Once you've done that a couple times, again, you can then pop two hands on and go, right, let's recreate it. Steep, center of mass is over my hands, club feels nice and light, then let that club head fall behind me, shallow, all the way through. You'll start to have a visual swing where you get that steep to shallow pattern. Everything's going to feel a lot easier, a lot more effortless, because you're going to be working the club the way it's designed to be worked around your body. And ultimately from there, it's going to make you a lot more consistent as a golfer. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video today. If you have, please leave a comment down below. If you have any video recommendations that you'd like to see in the future, again, drop them in the comments down below. I'm going to respond to every single one, create videos for you. And yeah, like and subscribe if you like the video, and stay tuned for more videos coming out very, very soon.